How you guys doing? Oh boy, I just got back from a walk. I try to do 5K a day, and it's you have to get out there early. So it's because it's so hot and muggy. Hey, Abdul and David and Adam, how you guys doing? Oh, well, a lot's happened since we got together last time. So let me see if I can start filling you in. First of all, I've been usually around the first part of June. We start getting the participants in the year's Grand Prix. But they didn't even have the categories or anything set up yet because every year they seem to tweak it a little differently. Now, 2020, let's face it, is has been a real mess, and so giving them some leeway on that. Hey, Jeffrey and Dominic, how you guys doing? So I, I kept looking. I kept going to the Grand Prix, the Grand Prix d'Orlo DJ Genève. Hi, Hans. And the nothing, nothing. So I finally wrote the gal who's the what's she called? She coordinates everything, I guess. And boy, bam, right away, she got back to me and she said next week. So starting Monday, I'm going to start looking for the categories and so forth, and then I'll see what the closing date is on that, and then we'll be able to see the entrance. And then, like last year, I think we total of 3 watches that we give away for the Grand Prix pick. So if you want to, I'm going to open up the Grand Prix picks page. If you're already on it, if you've already been involved, you don't have to do it again. But otherwise, you got to sign up for it, just like any other page. But it's called Grand Prix picks. Let me see. I'll write it down here. Grand Prix picks. And what we do, this is something we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, is that every year what we do is we take them all and everybody puts a list of things who they think is going to win for each of the categories, and then who they think is going to win for the grand prize. And we've given away quite a few watches in those. Oh, hey, Lee, how you doing? GMT Master, good to see you. Okay, great. Abdul, you won last year. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we had, I've got a bunch of watches to give away. I wish we had more women involved because I also have some women's watches. So anyway, I've been giving a few away. I've got one. I've got to get a hold of the guy who won one for the contest we had for doing the retrograde design. So anyway, that's the first thing that I've been looking into. The second thing is that a couple things about in terms of when we were hoping to get a watch movement made for us. Let me see if I've got this here. Hang on a second. Rats. I got so many of these pictures here. Let me see if I have it. Get it here. A bunch of them just fell over there, and I'm not going to go chase them down. So what we started with was the see if I have it here. I'll take a quick look. We started with a watch that was from Van Cleef and Arpels, and it was a very clean watch, really a beautiful one. And the the plan was to see if we could get Agenhor to remove the second time and make it a wind up for us instead of a automatic. In other words, the idea was if they could just sort of tweak it a little. And some people forgot that, and they wanted 5 seconds and other kinds of stuff like that. And that would throw the whole thing off. Here's a watch that's sort of cool. Let me see. I'll be right back. This is it. Yeah. Okay, here they are now, and here it is. Okay. Okay, let me show you sort of I tell you, been to work on this. Okay, so this is what we started with, was this. Okay, if you remember right, it's been a while. And then the idea was that this thing is a dual time. It had retrograde minutes and jumping hours. A very clean, really beautiful watch with a movement by Agenhor, the whole movement, not just part of it. And so I was thinking, well, if they could just take out one of these jumping hours and maybe, move the movement around here or up here, one of the two, and we could have something like this, okay, where we had the jumping hour and then this. And so all they'd have to do is very small things, primarily, get rid of one of the jumping hours. In fact, they could just remove the window. This was the winning design, even though I think we all wanted something with a nice smooth enamel to it. Okay, now this is what the Agenhor movement looks like. Okay, and so by removing one of these and taking out the rotor, Bob's your uncle. That'd be it. And that's what I was hoping that we could do. Here's another one I found, and I think this is another jumping hour, and I think this is also by Agenhor. Here you have the retrograde minutes, small seconds, and then down here you've got the date, not the date, but the jumping hour. So anyway, so this is where we were, and there are all kinds of other fish that Agenhor has to fry. So we're sort of waiting for that. Now, some other stuff that we had, getting things sort of up to date, was the one by Lang and Heim. This was the UWD 33, and we wanted the 33.2 with the center seconds, have a nice clean one there with a beautiful movement. Well, they said it was going to be ready by October, and then they said they don't know when it's going to be ready. There is the movement with the small seconds, so that was still available. Now these things were about $4,000 a pop, so they were not cheap. And so we started looking at some other ones and some of the other options they had. One was Boscher. You needed 1,000 of those, not 1,000, but 25 of those at $1,000 a piece, which isn't bad really, considering. And then there was the Rolf Lang, but for a minimum of 5, those were 5,000 a piece, and it was pretty hefty. Now, the idea, of course, was to get a really good movement and a good watch put together out of this, and so that was what we were doing. So, looking at some of these prices, a lot of people said, that's going to sink my boat. So, maybe we ought to look for something else. And somebody suggested Swiss Technology Products. Now, this is a Swiss company, and I don't know, something like Glover or something has a name like that. It's not one of the. It's not like La Chaux de France or one of the other, or Geneva or one of the other places where, or Fleurier, where we find sort of groups of watchmaking. But this one was, it's called Swiss Technology Products, STP. So I thought, well, I'll look at those guys. Well, I did. I went there, and you had to have a special thing to log in, and then you had to do this and do that. So I went and did all of those things, and I got some very interesting stuff back. One of the things that I got was, and they had two things. You could either get it for automatic or wind up. So the starting price for one of their movements was 61 Swiss francs. That's like $61. And I thought, maybe that would be something that we could think about. Now, the only problem with using the least expensive movement is that we had talked about getting a Wooten Lannen and Callan case for it, which was going to be a lot. And so it would be sort of like, you know, wrapping a hot dog in an eclair bun or something. So, these are some of the things that maybe what we ought to do is start off and just sort of make a watch together using something other than an ETA or one of the Chinese movements, which are really pretty good. I thought, well, we ought to try this out as far as maybe there's something to it. $61, that's something all of us can afford. I'm not sure how many of those we have to buy, but I think it's around 50, but I'm not even sure about that. I think it's if you buy less than 50, then they charge you some kind of charge for shipping, which is, that'd be fine too. But instead of getting the cheapest one, we get something in between. So let's say we find one for around $100, $120. That's really, that's still pretty good. And we're talking about a Swiss movement. So that's another thing that I've been looking at too. So um, anyway, your admin is organized as mine. Hans, what a terrible thing to say to me. Oh, okay. So what's going on? What are your thoughts on this? Any ideas or anything? How about Swiss FTP movement and a German Turbi case? STP. You mean a Swiss FTP and a German Turbi case? That's an idea. Turbi makes very nice cases. What do they charge for their cases, Abdul? No comments. That's what I figured you meant. It was STP. Uh, what I can do, I've got their price list after signing up and doing all of the stuff that they wanted me to do. I figured, well, I might as well share it with you guys. Um, okay, so that's another thing we can think about. Hey, Robert, how you doing? STP is a decent movement. Robert, what kind of watches have you do you, do you know that uses them? I had run across some and I forgot what they were. So, but do you remember any watches, Robert, that Robert Gordon, that they had the STP movement? What they look like. They look like sort of. Hi, Andy Candy. Um, the they look like the ones I've looked at are level 11. Hello. Um, so they look pretty much like sort of plain vanilla movements, for lack. I mean, not a great deal of finishing on them, other than just sort of like, they look like good, clean movements. And one of the things that some of the members have done. Hi, Richard. Um, and one of the things that some members have done, and it's probably something that I ought to do because I've got to get these. I've been dithering on getting the files so I can file down the side of my the two 6498s I bought and put them together to see if I can get resonance on them. That would be fun, but haven't gotten to it yet because I haven't made up my mind about the file set to get. Anyway, I have some files, and I don't know. I'll see about that. Not off the top of my head, but it was like you said, not real fancy, but yeah, I kept good time. Now, one of the things they had, and it's sort of this is sort of very interesting, is they have these versions of the STP movements, excuse me, that are COSC, and they cost 120 Swiss francs extra to get COSC, which I thought, that's not bad. Especially, we've been looking at $4,000 and $5,000 movements. So, you pop on, you get $100 movement, then you put on an extra 120 to get it certified, COSC certified. That might be sort of fun to have too. Um, Anyhow, so that was something I looked into, and I've got the list of all of the different kinds, and they really have quite a selection. And I think the most expensive one is probably around $300 or $400. That's the top of the line, and that's another possibility because when we're talking about $300 or $400, that's half of what a washer would cost if 26 of us bought it together or 25 of us bought it together. So, it's something I'm going to look into more. And now that I am certified by them, I guess I can find out more information. Um, I think a lot of people see it as it's not ETA, so maybe, but I don't know. We can look at that. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the iboshes and établissage. Okay, there's something that's called the établissage system, and I'll have to get the pronunciation better. Let me see. If I write it down here, you guys will recognize it immediately. Let's see. I heard you mention a Chinese watchmaker in another video. I can help you run that down for you. Yeah. This guy is really good. That was Hua. Hua is his last name. I'll tell you what to do, Jeffrey. Go to the ahci.ch. That's the independent watchmakers in Switzerland, and he will be one of the members. And so that's sort of an elite group. Let me say, not sort of, absolutely an elite group of watchmakers who really do good stuff. So take a look there, Jeffrey, and that'd be great, and find out about him. Well, I know you can find out about him. Jeffrey, if you speak Chinese, maybe we can work something out with him. That'd be nice. Because this guy he must be good. Otherwise, he wouldn't be part of the AHIC. Let me see if I have that right. Yeah, AHCI or IC. It's the Independent Watchmakers Group. Okay, what I started to write. Hi, Paul. You sound like Inspector Clouseau. Well, good for me. I probably look like I'm on a good day, too. All right, where is that? This is the system that I was... would there be contact info there? Yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah, that you can find it. They have all of the contact info at that. That's how come I suggested it. Okay, let's see now. Who can? I guess I can't ask you to pronounce it, but this is a system. There's sort of a double thing here: iboshes and then the tablissage system. Okay, let me write that down. And I wanted to talk about that. Okay, now the tablissage system is one that is really very interesting. Uh, I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, I on High Horology Lounge, I put up this very long sentence, and that very long sentence was, let me see if I can find it. Hang on a sec. Um, Let me get it right here. I'll see if I can put it up there for you. Okay, this was. Okay, I'm gonna see how much I can put up there for you on this. Boom. I think I may have gone over a little. Yeah, no, I guess it's got it okay, does it? No. Um, can you guys see that up there? That thing I just put up or not? Probably not. Okay, so let me try this. Brass. Okay, this was a description, La Chute and it's talking about the all of the everyone involved in making a watch. And what they used to do, and I sort of like this idea, you had all of these specialists who sort of had little cottage things, and one person would do this, and another person would do this, and another person would do something else. And this is, let me see if I can see these are talking about the detail labors. I'm going to see if I can put more of it down here. Um, these are amazing number of roles they have. Yeah. Okay, this is a huge long sentence. In a single sentence, every role was in there. It's on High Horology Lounge somewhere a couple days ago. I'll bring it back up to the top. But I've been thinking about this. One of the things that we've been, all of us, myself especially, have been very adamant about is in-house movements. And the under the établissage system, you had all of these specialists. I mean, like you had the best gizmo maker, and then the best widget maker, and the best this and the best that, and it would all work, and it would work together. When I used to develop software, one of the software was developing with God, I think it was Adobe or a company that was bought by Adobe. I was working with a programmer in Chile, or it was either in Chile or Peru, working with the company headquarters was in San Francisco. The web developer was in India, and I was in Connecticut. And the four of us were working together. My job was on the testing part. I'd test something and then report back, and then we'd all talk about it. And it was, that it worked out really well because I was good at what I did, and all these other guys were good at what they did. And so I'm thinking, okay, now so you got a guy, or you have a company, and if you bring all of those people together in the same company, as an in-house movement. This is pretty much what Beauvais did with Demier. There was this company that made a lot of different things for watch movements. Pascal Raffi bought it, called it Demier 17 something or other, and then would hire other kinds of people who were all of these specialists, and all of this is done in house. This is why Beauvais is pretty much in house. I got a feeling their hairsprings may be by Moser, but I'm not sure. So anyway, so we have um, all of these different specialized roles, and I'm thinking, well, okay, so some watchmaker says, okay, I'm going to buy a 52 tooth uh, gear from Joe, and then Mary makes these balance forks and so on and so forth, and then I'm going to put them together here in my shop, and so I was reading about that, and this was reading about Daniel Roth, and apparently he likes that system, and he still uses it, and he's got this big tray with all these little cubby holes. It's more not those little partitions, okay, little square partitions are going this way, and each one is for a different part. And so this is how he makes watches. And the I guess this is where the in-house and not in-house sort of got confused. I think you got a guy like Daniel Roth, and he, you know, gets all of these parts that he needs for a movement and puts them together. Okay. Now he doesn't manufacture any of those parts himself, except perhaps, let's say, the base plate for the movement or something like that, or maybe even has somebody make those for them, or he might even use a CNC machine. I'm not sure how he does it. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this guy, this he's sort of doing something that's sort of the old pre-quartz way of doing things, and I think this is the kind of stuff that BVR was. I don't know if the word would be grousing, but sort of was like, crying in his beer about how the old days they used to do something. Um, and what it wasn't it awful that that now we're collectors are saying, well, if it's not in house, I'm not too interested in it. Well, the thing of it is that BVR has left out a lot. Okay, primarily is that under the old system, where all of these different little cottage industries were held up, and it worked very well. And everybody was their own boss, which was and also had all their responsibilities. This kind of system uh, did not mean that some company like ETA they made the whole movement, said here's a whole movement. So I think there's an important difference between doing that. Now you have certain companies like Jacques SA that became La Jeu Perret. This is the old thing with the guy who went to jail on it. Who's watched movements I like. This kind of system, he would take all these different parts and put them together and then sell them, which is one of the things he ended up with was my watch that I happen to like a lot. Not the watch. He didn't do the watch. He did the movement. This unusual movement. They were still trying to figure out, what was that? What were the parts that he got to make that? Did he take it from an iBosch and then put in a new base and then put the thing together? I don't know, and it's haven't exactly figured it out yet. But anyway, that's something I think that would be. I like to sort of think about those kinds of things, like, that's really interesting. And so we have some watchmakers who are actually doing that on their own. So anyhow, let's see. Ah, uh-oh. Hang on a second. Yeah. Okay, I'm still live right now. All right, I'll try to get it. All right, that's okay. Bye bye. Whoops. Okay. Um. Anyway, the art of watchmaking and horology instead of automatic manufacturing watchmaking. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Abdul. Yeah, I agree. That would be a good way of putting it. Um. So, and anyway, that's another thing I think we ought to talk about. Now, this leads to the fourth topic that I wanted to look at today, and that is, um, rethinking high horology. There was some guy put a thing up on High Horology Lounge and said, "Wow, what's high horology?" And everybody started putting up there. And one of the things that somebody put was COSC. FP Journe has never deigned to have any of his watches judged by COSC, and he's won more grand prizes than anybody else. but they're not COSC. He figures he takes care of them and doesn't want somebody fumbling around with it. Also, too, besides COSC, there's Metis, there's the Quality Fleurier, and then there's the French Observatory in Besançon, which has the serpent's head. That's another. They're doing all of the same thing. They're making sure that the accuracy is good. But the interesting thing about it, I don't think that's a requirement for high horology, which makes it even more interesting because I think that realistically, the game was, in terms of accuracy, was over back in the 60s when quartz came out. I mean, that was like the game over, bam, game over as far as accuracy. And so this is why a lot of them went under and had to be saved by, Daddy Warbucks, who had a lot of money and sort of was a hobbyist almost with watchmaking. So I think it's time. I would really like to start rethinking high horology for the collectors, the watch collectors, the buyers. The whole thing is set up now is, I think, to a great extent to justify just crazy high prices for watches. And so, if you're going to pay crazy high prices, we might as well get something that is really good, as opposed to something that is, they figured out, well, if we do this and this and this, we can charge more for exactly the same kind of watches that we produced since time immemorial. So I think that's something else that we need to discuss further on these things. Hi, 451. Istov Sage system is something I would back. I'm not an in-house fundamentalist. Well, to me, I don't think you have to be a fundamentalist to be in-house. I think to me, here's the difference between fundamentalism and in-house, period, is that if you have something that is done so that the movement itself is not simply some kind of off the shelf movement, so to speak. Now, this particular movement is in a watch, Maurice Lacroix, which is, doesn't make its own movements, and it started making them, I think, but they've got enough smoke and mirrors on their own way of talking about them. So anyway, well, listen, guys, my half hour is up, and I got stuff to run. I'll be back at 4 o'clock for more live stuff if you guys are still up. I know a lot of you, especially in Asia, like bedtime. So anyway, thank you all for coming. And these are the things that I think are, a lot of interesting stuff coming down. Take care.